All right, I want to bring in, though, Ryan Graves. He is a retired Navy fighter pilot and the first active duty pilot to come forward publicly, testify to Congress about encounters with UFOs. Ryan, thanks for being here on the Hill. I wonder just your reaction to David Grush coming forward, what he said here on News Nation, and sort of now the push here in Washington, D.C. for members of Congress to say, we want to know more.
Yeah, it's quite the drop of information. I think what we need to keep in mind, though, and what our representatives have been keeping in mind, is a lot of his statements stem from the core problem of there perhaps being unreported special access programs that aren't being monitored or reported to Congress, which would be a crime. So if we kind of boil away everything else, we realize there is something here that Congress has a requirement to look into.
You know, you wrote an article recently. It's entitled, "We Have a Real UFO Problem, and It's Not Balloons." You were a pilot. You've seen this stuff up close. Here's what you wrote. You said, quote, of an incident that you encountered. The UAP accelerated at speeds up to Mach 1, the speed of sound. They could hold their position, appearing motionless, despite Category 4 hurricane force winds. They did not have any visible means of lift, control surfaces, or propulsion. In other words, nothing that resembled normal aircraft with wings, flaps, or engines. And they outlasted our fighter jets, operating continuously throughout the day. I am a formally trained engineer, but the technology they demonstrated defied my understanding. What do you think Congress needs to know about what you saw and what your other fighter pilots who you have flown with have seen as well?
I think the most important thing for them to know right now is that this isn't something that is relegated to a very specific point in time. This is something that we continue to see, aviators continue to see, both on the military as well as the commercial side. On the military, through ARROW and other reporting mechanisms, there is processes being put into place to start to increase reporting and mitigate the stigma that's associated with this within the military. But on the commercial side, we don't have that same progress being made, even though, as it's been very clearly stated by the Department of Defense, this is a risk to commercial aviation.
Hey, Ryan, it's Lauren Wright. You know, members of Congress like Lindsey Graham have shed doubts on these sorts of reports, saying that it's pretty unbelievable that there exists a top secret program to retrieve and analyze these types of UAPs and nobody found out about it. What do you say to people shedding doubt on this, some of which have a lot of information about intelligence operations in the U.S. government?
I think what we just need to do is remember that these whistleblowers coming forward are typically veterans or active duty that held security clearances or still do. And their claims need to be backed up with evidence. And that evidence, my understanding, is before Congress now. And so as that information gets vetted, it'll be the responsibility of how to communicate the findings from that. That would be Congress's responsibility.
Ryan, Johannamaska, thank you so much for joining us. And I got to tell you, I would love to learn more about UFOs. So I am so glad that you are out here talking about this. But have you found community in other people seeing this? And is your coming out with this, and so many people now coming out with this, are you hearing from more people who are saying this is real?
I've been hearing more people coming out saying this is real, basically for the past 6 years, almost on a daily basis. So to answer your question, very much so. And that has been increasing more and more with the more attention that this gets. And this represents pilots, commercial pilots that are seeing this, that are talking about this inside the cockpit, that are not comfortable talking with their companies or reporting this through existing safety mechanisms. This includes active duty military.
Hey, Ryan, before we got to run, but before we go, it caught my attention that you said what you saw up in the sky outlasted the capabilities of U.S. fighter jets, your own fighter jet.
Yeah.
What do you think you saw?
We don't know. We don't know what we saw.
What do you think? Take a guess. What do you think it is?
It's not anything we have.
Really?
They're out there all day, and they're performing at high energy rates. Our jets would run out of fuel in a little over an hour if we were doing that.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.